Oh, here we are. It's playoff football. San Francisco 49ers at Dallas Cowboys. Keys to victory for wild card weekend and the latest injury report. And let's get into the chat. Let's have a hype sesh for this playoff football game. Rivalry week right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. We're doing a little live stream here. It's been fun the last few weeks doing these pre-games. So last show of the week before game day, and it's a hype session. I see people jumping in the chat already fired up for this contest. Rivalry week, San Francisco 49ers at Dallas Cowboys. What I'm sure will be another instant classic in the lineage of this fantastic rivalry. Croc, how fired up are you for this one right now as we're just a couple of days away from playoff football?
Man, I'm ready to go. And, this one hits close to home. My big brother, he's a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, diehard. So, growing up in a household, me rooting for the San Francisco 49ers, my brother rooting for the Dallas Cowboys. The rivalry started then, whether we're playing Madden, whether we're watching our teams go at it. And that competitive nature has continued into our adulthood. So, you can just imagine what it's like right now in the group chats. My brother, my friends, is going crazy. So, yeah, definitely excited. Amped up for this one.
A lot of trash talking. And the past doesn't matter. Like, you got to go out and you got to win this one. It's all about right now. It doesn't matter that Dwight Clark made a catch 40 years ago. It doesn't matter that what happened in 1992. It doesn't matter what Alvin Harper did. It doesn't matter what happened in 1994. What matters is 2022 now, January, and it's going to be such a good one. We've got our keys to victory coming up in this one. I think we've got to start, though, with the latest injury report and fantastic news. According to ESPN, Trent Williams telling folks he's going to go. Held out last week with elbow injury, did not practice to start the week Wednesday, but limited at practice Thursday. We'll see if he's full go or just limited again Friday, but it looks like it is trending in the right direction. And he said even if he's not 100%, he'll do what he needs to do, adrenaline and whatnot, and he'll be going, and he'll be out there protecting his quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, who, by the way, was a full participant in practice. So a healthier Jimmy and even a one-armed Trent Williams, I'm okay with that. Like, that's huge for the 49ers this week, Croc, right?
You need them. Dallas Cowboys, they have some big-time edge rushers. DeMarcus Lawrence, the sack numbers aren't crazy, but between him, Randy Gregory has had a terrific comeback to his career. I mean, it started off rocky. He was getting suspended, all those things, but he's balling now. He's getting after quarterbacks. And then Parsons, the rookie, he's been tremendous. He's been really the kind of their saving grace when things weren't going well. They had guys out with injuries. He's been balling. So that's a terrific pass rush the 49ers are going up against, and they're definitely going to need a guy like Trent Williams to really hold things down.
Absolutely. Let's go through the rest of this injury report here. I love how strong everyone is in the comments right now, getting ready for this one. A lot of flame emojis for those of you who are not with us right now live on YouTube and are listening in your cars, maybe on your way to work Friday morning, getting ready for the weekend and wild card weekend and what it should be. Some days off for Nick Bosa and Alex Mack, well-earned days off for those players. Like Nick Bosa might as well be a 35-year-old veteran at this point. Give him as many days off as he wants to start weeks. He did have Wednesday off, but he's back fully participating in practice on Thursday. George Kittle showed up on the injury report, but again, just a veteran day off. I think he's right in that same category with Nick Bosa, where, look, these guys are physical. They play a lot of snaps. They play their butts off. They are high motor all the time. Give George Kittle and Nick Bosa some time off during the week. So I love that after a long season. Elijah Mitchell, he's had the knee injury. He did not practice Wednesday, sort of a similar situation where it's just a day off Wednesday, back at practice Thursday, fully participating. So Elijah, or limited participant in practice, don't need to get him any extra. They're not heading into practice anyway, but you don't want to have your star running back at this point taking any extra reps that he doesn't need to be taking in practice. So Elijah Mitchell looking good to play Sunday. Azeez Al-Shaair limited in practice this week. Drake Greenlaw fully participating. coming back from that groin injury, and he was all over the place. How about that? Fred Warner, Azeez Al-Shaair, and Dre Greenlaw all healthy for the same game. Like, you almost can't even put them all in the same field at the same time, because teams don't run base all that much. And but man, Dre Greenlaw was flying around last week, and you could tell he missed it. Kyle Shanahan talked about how Dre Greenlaw just loves the game so much, and for a guy coming off a growing injury, he was flying around everywhere. Missed a couple assignments, got beaten in coverage a couple times, but
face mask.
He was everywhere. He was active, if nothing else.
He had a face mask penalty where it was like, it was a little unnecessary. Yeah. But, I always like to say, man, I'd rather have to tell a guy to tone down his aggressiveness as to tell him, hey, man, be more aggressive. And I thought he brought that fire. He came, he knocked the guy dang near, tried to knock him out the game. They threw a flag on that. You want him to be a little bit more disciplined within the way that he plays, but it was good to see him back and flying around.
Marcel Harris has been limited in practice this week, dealing with an Achilles injury. Jaquiski Tart growing injury, also limited in practice. Mitch Wisnowski going through concussion protocol. Talanoa Hufanga limited in practice. Maurice Hurst. Are we going to have a Maurice Hurst sighting all of a sudden? That would be a nice little bit of extra juice inside from an interior pass rush from Maurice Hurst. He was fully participating in practice all week long. He's been inactive a lot this year, and that's happened a lot through his career, even back with the Raiders. Not much really of note on the Dallas Cowboys injury report. A couple I do want to list here, though. Running back Tony Pollard. And man, according to the Locked On Cowboys guys, he joined us on yesterday's podcast. If you didn't hear it, is a really good one. Go check that out. Had a lot of fun with those dudes. And Tony Pollard, they think, is better than Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel has been banged up all year, but it's not Elliott, it's Pollard that's on the injury report. He was participating fully in practice this week, but a foot injury. So, maybe the running game a little banged up on the Dallas Cowboys. And Tyron Smith, very similarly to Trent Williams, two of the best left tackles in the NFL. Both are banged up here. And Tyron Smith's been dealing with something for a while, knee and ankle injuries, limited participation in practice this week. So, look, he's a really good player, but is that enough for maybe Nick Bosa to have a little edge when he's going against him one-on-one? Are they going to leave him one-on-one? So we'll see how that whole thing works out. But it's looking like two stud tackles that are banged up are going to be playing in Tyron Smith and Trent Williams this week. And that's
I do have a
question
for you with Ezekiel Elliott. And we were talking about this on Spaces on Twitter. With Zeke, do you think is he kind of wearing down? He had a ton of carries early on. His usage was at an extremely high rate. And we know with running backs, their lifespan is really short. And I think what we're seeing right now from Ezekiel Elliott is the results of all the pounding and hits that he took early in his career. And now his body's kind of breaking down a little bit. When you watch Zeke run, he does not look the same. I mean, his rookie year, those first couple of years, he was explosive. He was hitting holes. He was outrunning everybody. And now, at least in the games I've watched, he kind of looks like a shell of himself. And I think that's why you see a lot of Cowboy people, whether it's the people that cover the 49ers, Mosher and those guys, or the fans, kind of talk about how, hey, Pollard is a more explosive back, and he's the one that should be getting a bulk of the carries. But I think Ezekiel Elliott, his body might just be kind of breaking down a little bit on him.
That's what happens. That's the main argument against spending high-end resources on running backs and not drafting them in the top 5 or the first round at all, or not giving them their second contract, even if you drafted them top 5 and they were really good for those first 4 years, because it's like 25, 26 years old, the wheels fall off. It's amazing. There's running backs that have been retired for 5-10 years, and you think they're 45 years old. You're like, oh man, this dude's like 32 years old. He feels so old, but it happens that quickly. And he's never had a season as good as his rookie season. 1,600 yards, 5.1 yards per carry as a rookie. And he's had a really good offensive line most of his career there in Dallas. They've had some injuries, but man, he's had Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, and they've had a really good offensive line there in Dallas since he's been in the NFL. And that yards per carry is just trending in the wrong direction. And I thought last year he looked 2 steps slow. I thought he looked awful last year, maybe even a little better this year than last year. And maybe because he doesn't have to carry the load anymore, because he has Pollard to take some of those carries away from him. But he's definitely not the same player. Christian McCaffrey after all these injuries. He got too much money in second contract. I would have, it's hard to do when you have this star player and he sells a bunch of jerseys and you drafted him high and he's really good for his first 4 years. It's hard to say, oh no, we don't want to give this guy a second contract, but it's just not smart money. We saw with Todd Gurley. It happens. The injury rate is 100% for running backs and they break down so quickly. And it's one of the easier positions to replace in the NFL. And we've seen that on numerous rosters in the league. So it's all about those young legs when it comes to running backs in the league. And if I was a GM of a team, I would pretty much never give a running back a second contract unless it's on the very cheap. And it's a really sweetheart of a deal for the team.
Or draft them really high to where you feel obligated to give them that big contract. And the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. The same thing's going to happen with, Elijah Mitchell. And we've already seen his body breaking down throughout this year. And we talk about him being on the injury report and having to try to play through some injuries to start this season. But, the 49ers, when he is playing, they hand him the ball 21 to 27 times. He's taking a beating. He's not going to last that long. So right now, the 49ers have to start preparing who's going to be the next Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, they have to really like running back 2 and running back 3 going into next year. Elijah Mitchell was running back 5 in training camp, right? There was Gallman. Yeah. He was a 6th-round pick. They had Gallman and Hasty and Mostert and all these guys, and now he's running back number 1. That's just the way it works in the NFL. And I love the way Elijah Mitchell runs, but he takes some hits and he finishes runs and he finds contact at times and he runs a little bit high at times, and he's a big enough target in the run game that he's going to get hit a lot, and running backs are going to be hurt. We've already seen that with him. All right, we've got to move on here a little bit and start talking a little bit about some keys to victory. I have some nuggets of statistics to bring up as well as it pertains to this 49ers Cowboys matchup. But if you're wondering what you want to snack on during the game, you need a little something, but you got that New Year's resolutions, a little bit more difficult watching football games and trying to eat healthy. Well, Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and it is perfect for your eating healthy New Year's resolutions. Make sure you include Built Bar in that plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good. You'll want to eat it, unlike other protein bars that can be chalky, waxy, and just don't taste like something you really want to eat, and you're choking it down. You want to eat healthy, but sometimes it gets boring, right? You're like, where's the chocolate? Well, guess what? Most Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. And I'm talking about real chocolate, not this brown colored stuff. It's like, hey, it's chocolate flavor. No, this is absolutely real chocolate that envelops most Built Bars. And Built Bars contain only 130 calories in most of those bars. Only 4 grams of sugar, only 4 net carbs, and a whopping 17 grams of protein to power you through your day. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Saving money is important, I think, to everybody. And a lot of folks listening to this podcast driving to work, shout out to you. I know you're pumped for the weekend. Maybe you're on a trip. Maybe you're going to visit some old pals and watch this football game. Well, guess what? You can get cash back just by driving there. Go to Get Upside, download the app, and get cash back every time you get gas. Our listeners are making up to 25 cents for every single gallon of gas they buy every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the Apple App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN, and you can get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So that is up to 50 cents cash back on your very first tank. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside and promo code TOUCHDOWN for that bonus 25 cents per gallon on your very first tank. No catch. Super easy. The cash goes right back into your account after you buy gas at probably the gas station you're already going to fill up at anyway. You just find the stations on the app. You say, I'll claim that 25 cents back per gallon, and you go fill up. It's that easy. Again, download the free Get Upside app. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN. How about this, Croc? That powerhouse Dallas Cowboys offense led the league in points per game. This from Gil Brandt, former legendary vice president of player personnel for those Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys had 22 different players score a touchdown this season. That is the most by any team in NFL history.
Wow.
Now we're talking that's defensive players, that's special teams, but they've got a lot of different weapons, and it's not just Amari Cooper and Zeke and Pollard and CD Lamb, and even with Michael Gallup, who's a really good outside X receiver who tore his ACL unfortunately late in the year, and he's going to be done, and even next year is in doubt for him, and I think he's going into free agency. That's a rough go for him. And then they have Cedric Wilson come in, who looks really good for them, big, fast receiver on the outside. So there's a couple of good tight ends. Blake Jarwin and Dalton Schultz was a boon for me in my fantasy football leagues when George Kittle went down. I needed a replacement, and Dalton Schultz was awesome for the Cowboys this year, and really good in the red zone. So there's a number of ways that the Dallas Cowboys can put points on the board. But Croc, what I want to ask you is this version of the 49ers secondary, if Jaquiski Tartt is healthy enough to play, when you've got Tartt and Ward out there at safety, and now with, maybe some more confidence with the rookie in Ambry Thomas, and seeing him develop and seeing him get better every week. And then obviously it's so important for the 49ers to have gotten Emmanuel Mosley back. Is this the best secondary the 49ers have had this year going into the playoffs to cover all those guys?
I don't know if it's the best secondary, but I will say I think just schematically this is the group that can at the very least help contain the big playability from the Cowboys receivers. Now, at some point, because they are so good, they're gonna get you. But again, like we saw against Cincinnati, and like we saw in some of the other games with some high-powered, explosive offensive players, can you limit it? And I think for the most part, the 49ers receivers or defensive backs have done a good job of that, right? Go back and you look at the Tennessee Titans game. For the most part with AJ Brown, he did a lot of his damage on one drive. He had the big play down the right sideline on Ambry Thomas, and then he came back, he had a deep curl route on third down, and then he had the touchdown. That was probably, 70 yards on one drive right there. So can you make it to where it's just one drive as opposed to them really hurting you throughout the entirety of a game? So I think they have the guys right now that can help limit it. And it's definitely not even so much going to be all on the secondary. Can the pass rush get there? And that's going to be a big part of it as well.
By the way, Cedric Wilson, he's the son of former 49ers receiver Cedric Wilson. But that math doesn't add up, right? Cedric Wilson didn't play that long ago. How could he possibly have a son who's like 25 years old and playing in the league right now? Does that make sense? Or am I just so old that Cedric Wilson was playing a lot further back than I remember?
You might be old because I don't remember Cedric Wilson.
You don't remember Cedric Wilson?
Nope.
Early 2000s, even mid 2000s, I think. Right?
Was
when
he?
did Cedric Wilson play? Help me out in the chat here so I don't have to look all this up. When did Cedric Wilson play for the 49ers? Because I don't feel it was that long ago for him to have had a kid that's already been in the league for like 3 years. Because now that's starting to bother me. So Cedric Wilson Sr. was drafted in the 6th round, 169th overall by the 49ers in 2001.
Wow. So, okay, yeah, then unless he had his son at like 14 years old.
It might have been something like that because let's see here. Cedric Wilson drafted in 2001 out of the University of Tennessee, played for the Niners.
Oh, I do remember him.
From 2001 to 2004, then played for the Steelers 2005 to 2007. Got himself a Super Bowl ring.
He had a son at a very young age.
Right? Let's see. Cedric Wilson Jr. So Ced Sr. is 43. Cedric Wilson Jr. was born in 1995 and is 26 years old. So
15?
17? 17, I think. Is that
43, 26.
So 17. So high school. Yeah. Wow. All right.
That's crazy.
That is nuts. That is pretty nuts. Anyway, all right, we're going off the rails here. How about this statistic? This one from Akash Anavarathan. a friend of the program. By the way, I was going to have him jump on the show. It was really fun last week having that roundtable and having Jason Aponte and John Chapman join the show. We got to do more of those roundtables, and we're definitely going to do a ton of those around draft season and when the season's over. Akash, unfortunately, I could not get him to come on the show today. Maybe next week before that Packers game, right? Before Niners-Packers.
Right. Speak it into existence.
Yeah. According to Akash, the Cowboys defense has given up 14 runs of at least 20-plus yards this season. That's third worst in the NFL. The 49ers have 53 explosive runs this season, which is 8th in the NFL. So, yeah, explosive run plays. The Niners need some explosives. And we saw it last week. We've seen it in the past with the 49ers. They can kind of even run from behind. And even in years past, especially with Raheem Mostert and his speed, it is a big play run game. And it hasn't been quite that much of a big play run game, but they can create points. And maybe this is the matchup that it's time to just gouge people. And you brought up earlier, Croc, Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is a huge factor in this game. And let's just put a pin in that as a first key to victory right here, because important to have Tom Compton playing at a high level. It's important to have whoever's at left tackle. If it's Colton McKivitz, he's going to have to be on point again. He got beat a couple times, but overall he was okay in for Trent Williams last week. But if it's Trent Williams, he's got to do a job, because you've got Randy Gregory coming off the edge. You've got a ton of players on that team, but I think maybe the best one of them coming off the edge is the rookie in Micah Parsons. But I think Micah Parsons also as an off-ball backer is where you can, and even as, an edge player, I think that's where Kyle Shanahan can gain an advantage and use that rookie's aggressiveness against him and get him out of position and get him flying upfield and go underneath him, abuse him in the passing game, give him looks, have all this motion stuff. I think that's where you have to block him up, obviously, and not let him come get your quarterback. But I think you can also use his youth against him. And I think the 49ers in this one can really have an advantage in the middle of the field against the middle of the Cowboys defensive line and the second level of that Cowboys defense in the short passing game and in the running game. One more stat here from Akash. Since week 10, the Cowboys rush defense numbers to the edges. So this is to the outside. 72 rush attempts to the outside since week 10 against the Cowboys defense, 495 yards. That equates to a 6.9 yards per carry. 22 runs of 10-plus yards. So thanks to Akash for giving us those stats to use, and we'll have them on the podcast very soon. Our schedules didn't work out for this one, but, man, wide zone, that's against the edges. Those guys are light and not staying home. Let's go to work, Kyle Shanahan. Let's go to work, Elijah Mitchell. Let's go to work, Deebo Samuel, right?
Well, that tells me that, Deebo might have a big game, because he's the guy that does a really good job of hitting the edge, and he's really explosive. I feel like his first, second, third step, he's getting dang near the top speed and getting around the corners a lot of times. And if he can kind of hit the edge on Dallas, that'd be huge. You brought up some good points with Micah Parsons and just the ability to kind of use his youthfulness and aggressiveness against them. And, I talked about it with Trey Lance and why I was a little, weary of him being able to start against the Rams, not in this moment, because a coordinator can throw so much at him that he just has not seen. And I think it could be the same for the defense as well, especially for an attacking defense and a guy like Parsons, where, hey, I want to be aggressive. I want to be quick to everything. And that's what makes him great as well. But also, hey, can we use that against him? And I think Kyle Shanahan is just a guy, because he'll show you things and show it to you again, and you think you got a beat on it, and then he'll show you, and then psych, pull it back and throw right behind you. And that's something that, it'll be a learning process, but hopefully for 49ers, it'll be Parsons learning in this game.
And 49ers Shaolin points out here, 74.6 coverage grade. Parsons decent in coverage from what I am told. This is different. This is a different situation. I think what Kyle Shanahan could potentially do to a young man with just getting him one step in the wrong direction with the motion, with all the stretching him out. Yeah. And Kyle Shanahan is a master at that.
So it's not an ability thing that just, it's not like, he can't cover. Like, no, he can cover very well, and you can't outrun him. He's a 4-3. Yeah, he's a 4-3 guy. So you don't have guys that they're not outrunning him, but it's just, can you get him to take 2 steps in and hit Deebo behind him on the slant? Like that's all you need right there. Just that 1 or 2 steps to get him out of position.
Absolutely. Okay, more keys to victory coming up in this one. And Croc, you down to take the chat a little bit longer on the YouTube?
Of course, I got some Five Guys coming, but if
Okay.
everybody can,
until Five Guys shows up, we're going live here
yeah.
on YouTube, and we'll get deep into the chat after the regular pod is over. But I want to tell the folks about betonline.ag, who wish you a happy new betting year as we continue into the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the number one spot for all your best sports wagering action for 2022, including those San Francisco 49ers, who are 3-point dogs. That says Vegas thinks that this is a pick'em game in a neutral site. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed for a 3 versus 6 seed matchup in the NFL. You would think that home team would be favored by more. If you want to take those 3 points and bet on your San Francisco 49ers, or just go money line and bet on them straight up, you can do that at betonline.ag. You can also bet on basketball, hockey, boxing, UFC, play all of your favorite Vegas table games as well. So check out the new updated desktop and mobile website and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus with our promo code Locked On to get started. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. You want some more tips before you go betting? I've got the place for you as well. That is onlinegambling.com/NFL. And I did on the Peacock and Williamson show today, we did a little draft of playoff teams. And I had the first pick, and I took the Green Bay Packers. I think they have the best path. I don't necessarily think they're going to win, and they better hope they're not playing the 49ers next week, because that'll hurt their chances, I think, of going to the Super Bowl. And they can't seem to get past that NFC Championship game hump. But the buys are so important with only one buy per conference right now. Going to Green Bay, being able to stay home for a month if they keep winning. I think the Green Bay Packers have the best chance and the best odds of winning the Super Bowl. But I think your best money odds are probably on teams like the San Francisco 49ers. Some of those teams that might be down a little bit in the seeding, but I mean, parity reigns in the NFL. So what is your favorite team to make it to the Super Bowl? You can get tips on those things and expert advice, news, and more to help make your bets as informed as ever at onlinegambling.com. The experts at onlinegambling.com have set that challenge for me. So I put it out there that the Packers have the best shot, but I think the best bet is the 49ers. Teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, red hot right now. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, who are not the 1 seed. I think those are some pretty good bets. If you are planning on placing a bet during the playoffs, make sure you head to onlinegambling.com before you do. And that includes their OG tips section, where you'll find their own Super Bowl picks, as well as the inside track on how to beat the odds throughout the NFL playoffs. Again, that is onlinegambling.com/NFL for all the latest news and making the most of this year's playoffs. Okay, Croc. Keys to victory. By the way, I don't want to open up that debate right now, and I don't even want to do that to the folks. I'm already starting to see it in the chat. I don't have a horse in this race. I'm not big on fast food. I think the argument should be, why the heck are you going to Five Guys or In-N-Out when you can just grill one up that's better at home? But Croc, I know you're on the road, and that's when fast food starts to make sense for me, is when you're on the road and you're doing some stuff in Minnesota with some what, you're working with some prospects. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, evaluating some prospects, some combine guys. They're out here training at a facility. And I get a chance to evaluate them, see how they move, areas where I feel like they can improve, and give their trainers my analysis.
So just what's that cost? You're going Five Guys and you're getting an app to deliver it to you, right? So, and you go a la carte at Five Guys. That's the big argument. So you're going what? Burger, fries, doing shake, you doing a beverage, and you're getting it delivered to you. For a fast food burger, what's that going to set you back? Because I think that's a huge factor in this whole thing.
It's actually, so that is the biggest factor to me when it comes to Five Guys and how expensive it is. For whatever reason, because this is my first time using DoorDash, I don't have to pay like the fee for it coming to me. So I walked away with the tip paying, I think it's like $27, where typically, like, I wouldn't buy this for my home. It's just me out here. So if I had my family with me, I mean, we're talking about $75, $80 for the whole family. So I never go to 5 guys, especially when I'm home. But I'm out here, I'm by myself, I'm on the road. So I can afford it right now, just a little bit.
One key to victory, always keep yourself well fed. I personally would go with the Built Bar. I think that would be the smarter choice. Croc, you should have packed those in that bag instead of packing on all these extra calories. But what is your key to victory for the 49ers to beat the Cowboys on Sunday?
I think the biggest thing is make them one-dimensional. Obviously, we know that they can play well throwing the ball, but again, I don't care who you are, regardless of if you can throw the ball around or whatever. When the team makes you one-dimensional and you have to stick to one thing, it lets the opponents be able to pin their ears back, get after the quarterback, and at that point, the more you put the ball in the air, at some point you are bound to make a mistake. And Dak Prescott isn't prone or immune to making bad decisions as well. So he is safe with the ball. I think he does a really good job, but he can turn the ball away. There's been games where I tuned in and all of a sudden I see him throw a pick 6. So can you make them one-dimensional, take away the run game entirely, and just say, hey, we're going to put everything on the arm of Dak Prescott and live with the results of whatever that is?
Yeah, I mean, the run game is so big, and the 49ers, I think, can have some success running the ball, and I think the 49ers shutting down the Cowboys, I'm already on next week, the Cowboys running game is massive, and then that's when you make them one-dimensional. That's when the pass rush starts to eat. That is absolutely huge in this one. I agree with you there, Croc, and once that pass rush does start to work, you start getting some third and longs in there. How about this one from also friend of the podcast, Al Sacco? He relayed this from where did he relay it from? NFL communications official statistic here. 49ers defensive end Nick Bosa was tied for first in tackles for loss with 21 and fourth in sacks, 15.5 this season. In 2019, Bosa became the third rookie with 4+ sacks in the postseason since 1982. Big play Bosa here is what we're talking about. And if you double him, we've seen more and more contributions coming from Eric Armstead and Arden Key, and maybe even Maurice Hurst is going to be ready for this game, and Samson Ebukam. So it's going to take an entire effort, maybe some well-timed blitzes called by D'Amico Ryans for guys like Greenlaw and especially Fred Warner when they bring him as the fifth. That has been pretty awesome for the 49ers. So you got to get to Dak. You got to stop the run, make him one-dimensional. That is so massive for the 49ers. I'm going to add one that we've talked about almost every single week, and all of those things can go well for you that we've talked about so far, but we've got to talk about it. And it's good Jimmy has to show up. Bad Jimmy cannot show up. You can't get in a 17-0 hole against the Dallas Cowboys in this one, and Jimmy can't throw the ball to the other team. You can't count on Dak throwing 2 picks like Stafford did last week. So much had to go right for the 49ers to get out of there with the win. They can't do that again in Dallas. And by the way, I think there's going to be a lot of red in Dallas, maybe not as much as there was at the carport last week, right, Croc? But
I like that you call it the carport.
Yeah, that was yours. You named it the carport. You said it was like
That's
a
what
big
it's
carport.
It's like a big, a big fancy, nice. It's
nice.
an amazing stadium. But yeah, it's like it's like an outdoor stadium that just has a cover over the top of it. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Jimmy W's got to show up. He needs to be efficient. Can't throw the ball to the other team. Hopefully his thumb is still good. Doesn't take any hits on that to make it worse or anything like that. But we need good Jimmy. No giving it away to the other team. Turnovers is just so massive in this one. You have to, those little things have to go in your favor as well as playing good football to beat a good football team like the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I think to kind of add to that key is establish the run game, right? The 49ers want to run. As a matter of fact, the 49ers want to run the ball to be able to throw the ball. And, you don't want to make Jimmy Garoppolo just a pure straight drop back passer in this game. Hey, let him, show that outside zone stretch, be able to pull back on play action and hit the passes right over the linebackers. And if he can do that, I think it's going to just, allow him to have a clear vision of what the field is and be more efficient and maybe limit the turnovers.
Let me ask you this question really quick before we go. And by the way, everybody out there, stick around. We're going to get in the chat here in a minute. I don't have any more keys to victory. I think we nailed really the big ones in this one. The 49ers obviously can't beat themselves. That's so important. But do you think, and Kyle Shanahan was asked about it this week, and it was funny to hear Kyle Shanahan's answer about Jimmy Garoppolo and throwing a few interceptions here and there. His answer sounded a lot like what we say when we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. He says that's who he is. It's like, I know who Jimmy Garoppolo is. That's who Jimmy Garoppolo is. And we say that all the time. It's not surprising when he throws an interception, but he said it's part of what makes Jimmy good is that he's got a short memory. He doesn't care. He'll try to fit things in. He needs to see it quick. He tries to get the ball out of his hands quickly, knows where to go with the football. Sometimes it can work against him, but a lot of times it makes him hyper efficient and it makes the 49ers offense go. And you roll down the field, all these super long drives the 49ers need key third down throws from Jimmy Garoppolo. And we saw him throwing darts last week. So I'll ask you this question to finish this segment off, Croc. Does it matter that Jimmy throws interceptions? Is that okay? Is it like, okay, go ahead, throw one interception per game, Jimmy, one. Like, and I know there's the stats. If when Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't throw an interception, the 49ers are 7-0 or whatever. And when he throws one interception, they're whatever. But in the end, does it matter that much if Jimmy's the type of quarterback who's going to throw some interceptions?
Not if you can make the throws to overcome it. And obviously we saw him do it, really at least have the ability to do it in several games this year, where there was the Tennessee game. I mean, he threw the interception. He dug them into a hole. He tried to get them out of it. The game was tied. If the 49ers defense gets a stop, maybe they end up, potentially winning the game in overtime. So I do think he can kind of overcome it. He turned the ball over twice against the Green Bay Packers, still drove the ball down the field, and scored a touchdown. There's 37 seconds left, no timeout. So it's not ideal. And I do think it digs them in a hole. And if you look at a lot of the 49ers wins, some of them aren't maybe quite the blowouts that it could have been. And I think a lot of it is because maybe a turnover here and there by Jimmy, but it's not ideal because I don't think he makes enough plays after that to where it doesn't matter that he just turned the ball over.
Everyone, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tell a friend about Locked On 49ers. The thumbs up helps. Hit the bell so you can be notified when we go live and when we post a new podcast. And if those of you are hanging out with us right now live on the chat on YouTube, stick around because we are going to stick around and get a little bit deeper into this chat. If you are not live with us, thank you so much for listening. Pumped for this game. Hit Croc and I up on Twitter at BDPeacock, at Eric_Crocker. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. For your second listen, go check out Crocky on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast right here on the network. I'm talking about the entire league daily on the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. If you want to get deeper into betting, check out your boy Q on the Locked On Bets podcast. Croc and I back post-game versus the Dallas Cowboys with another Rapid React podcast. We'll talk to you then right here. Locked On 49ers. Okay, here we go. There's a good point here.
I'm going to grab my food real quick, and then I'll be right back. I'm not going to eat it. I just need to grab it, though.
Okay, go grab it.
All right.
I want to call out BSE here in the chat. Makes a good point. Prevent big plays, generate big plays. Dallas is going to put up some yards, and that is totally fine. Yards are fine. We saw it on the very first drive of the game against the Los Angeles Rams last week. Yards are okay. Bend, don't break. That is the brand of defense the 49ers play. You want to hit, and look, it's a very similar lineup that the Cowboys are coming at the 49ers with in the passing game. A good quarterback. Like last week with Stafford, you got Dak Prescott back there. He's a little bit different of a quarterback, yes, but it's a very good quarterback back there. Some good weapons on the outside. Very similar. Basic. I wouldn't be that shocked actually if CeeDee Lamb is basically the next Cooper Kupp. They can play in a lot of different spots, but really dynamic out of the slot, can make a lot of big catches. You could just go to him over and over and over again. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to keep getting better and better, and the game plan against Cooper Kupp is probably going to be similar to what the game plan would be against someone like CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper, dynamic receiver on the outside, similar to Odell Beckham. So, I think it's a similar brand of defense that you're going to be playing against this team. But it's bend, don't break. They can put up yards all day and go down the field. But if you, as BSC puts here, bow up and you hold that to a field goal instead of a touchdown and you keep them out of the red zone, that is massive. That is so massive for the 49ers. So bend, don't break. Right, Crocky? Like yards are okay if you can still not break and not give up those big points and those big plays and those big touchdowns.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's sneaking a French fry.
You said you weren't
Damn.
going to eat, but you couldn't not eat that French fry right there. We won't
Did
hang out long, Croc. I want to make sure you get to that burger and fries you got in the sack.
Did they put enough salt and pepper on it? Damn. All right, but but In-N-Out Burger's already winning. But I forgot the question. Oh, giving up the big plays. Yeah, you do want to play some element of bend but don't break. But I think they've done more of not even really bending. It's just at certain points they'll give up like a play here and there, but I don't think it's resulted in a lot of the points, I guess, that you would think would happen from it. How many times have teams gotten big plays and then go for it on fourth down and the 49ers stop them and they end up turning over downs? Like, that's happened a good amount of times. But the yardage from these other teams isn't crazy. I'm the number 3 overall defense in the NFL.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because their offense keeps the defense off the field, long plays, running the ball well. And I think that's a huge part of the 49ers' success. And all those things work together. I mean, it's complementary football. We've seen it. It's no surprise now how the 49ers are going to operate. They're going to throw short passes, hope to get big plays in the passing game by run after catch. They're going to move guys all over the place, nonstop motion, and they're going to try to run the heck out of the football. And they've been pretty successful doing that. And long, slow drives that take up most of a quarter keep their defense fresh, keep their defense off the field. And when their defense is on the field, even when teams do make some big plays, they've done pretty good at bending and not breaking. So that is huge. You went Cajun fries there, Croc?
I did go Cajun fries, and I think I forgot that when I went to eat the fry.
Yeah, okay. Well seasoned. Parsons shadowing. What do you think? Parsons shadowing Debo? I hope so for the 49ers' sake. I don't think you shadow anybody with Debo. Debo's too good. Debo's becoming one of the best weapons in the NFL, and it's pretty awesome to see what Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel are able to do now that they realize they can do more and more with him. It's just like it's like a superhero comic where they keep giving him more power. You flip the page and it's like, oh wow, he can do this now. Wow, he can do this now too. There's really no limit to what Debo can do in this offense, and I bet they've got some more wrinkles up their sleeves for the Dallas Cowboys.
He's really good, and when I started to add up his stats and I posted, this tweet, I was like, wait, we're not talking enough about the season that he had. I mean, even with him missing the game and having a couple games where they threw in the ball like one time, and he had over 1,400 receiving yards, over 350 something rushing yards. He had 14 touchdowns. I mean, we're talking about over 1,700 yards between rushing and receiving with the touchdown. I mean, like, that is a tremendous season. And it's almost just like, oh yeah, Debo. And I'm like, man, we're not talking about that enough, I don't think. Now, could you imagine if it were, let's say, Stephon Diggs had that season, or a Devontae Adams, or like if anybody else had that type of season, people are like, oh, that's the best receiver in the league. 18.2 yards per catch. Like, come on, like that. They said, I think I was listening to Middlecoff and those guys. One, he leads the NFL in yards per catch, which is crazy because I bet his average depth of target isn't even that far downfield.
Yeah, so
but he has only 25. He's like 25th in receptions, but 5th in yards. That's crazy.
Yeah, 750 of those yards have come after the catch. So he's taken 8-9 yard receptions, turning him into 18.2, a league best yards per catch. It's crazy what he's doing just as a pure wide receiver. And getting open and yanking chains and pulling balls down and all that. And then you add on top of it what he's doing in the running game, and he's magical as a runner. He's literally the best running back in the league. If when you consider how many carries he's had. It's crazy. He's almost good for 8 to 10 yards a pop every time. Finds the corner every single time. It's crazy. And the reason that a trick play like him throwing a touchdown pass works is because he's got the ball in his hands. And the defense has to collapse on him because it takes 11 guys to tackle him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we didn't cover this guy because we're afraid of Debo running the ball. Now he can just throw one over the top on us. What about Juwan Jennings? I think he was a former high school quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. What about him getting a chance to throw one this week? Was any trick plays out there, Croc?
I think you got to pull out all stops, right? Especially if it presents itself at some point. So maybe you don't go into the game saying, hey, we want to run this play, but maybe you prepare for it just in case. Hey, at some point we may go to this. We may need this. Maybe we set up something, a certain look early on, and then we pull back and throw it. So, yeah, definitely prepare for it. I'm glad they did against the Rams. I mean, because that definitely helped the 49ers, contribute to a win right
It
there.
was huge.
But with Juwan Jennings, and not just
That's
him. I
massive.
mean, I'm glad you mentioned Jennings, but Jennings, Ayuk, the 49ers receiving group, pass catchers in general, they got some legit weapons. Like how many actual groups in the NFL playoffs right now would you take over the 49ers? Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Jennings. And I'm throwing Jennings in there because he had a big game, but I mean, really, Debo, Kittle, Ayuk. How many other NFL groups would you take over that trio?
I don't know about how many, but the Dallas Cowboys get more accolades for their group of receivers than the 49ers do by far. And I agree with you earlier point. The response to Debo has been like, hey, Debo's pretty good. People aren't freaking out like, oh my God, Debo's amazing. And has had one of the best seasons in the NFL, period. Like people aren't really saying that enough. And when you look at Debo plus Kittle plus Ayuk, I would take that over Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Schultz even. And they've got one of the best in the league, right? The Cowboys do. When you start looking at Cedric Wilson, or especially when they had Michael Gallup, maybe that would start to skew some things when you go that deep into the pass catching roster, and they've got a two-headed monster at running back, even though the running game hasn't been quite as good for them this year. But the Niners with that trio, they're up there with a lot of teams, and those guys are getting better. That's what's crazy, especially with Debo and Ayuk continuing getting better and better. And then all of a sudden, you can drop a 180-yard Kittle performance on somebody's head.
Right. I see someone say Gallup is out. Gallup is out, but man,
Yeah,
Wilson, he has, and we talked about Wilson on the live show, but he has done a terrific job of stepping up and creating plays. I watched Wilson just go for like over 100 yards. Now, you might question the team that he went up against. There was a lot of backups for the Philadelphia Eagles. They played like their B team, but production is production. And I thought Wilson did a good job of just kind of showing his usage, and not just in this game. I think he's done it even at times, sometimes when Gallup was out there as well, catching the crossing routes. They do a lot of stuff with him from the slot. So yeah, Wilson, that's somebody that's definitely going to improve, but still, I like the 49ers group over the Cowboys and what they got.
This is a good question about Dan Quinn, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator. Who knows who better? Kyle knowing Quinn's tendencies or Quinn knowing Kyle's tendencies? Well, easy answer is I'll take Kyle Shanahan 10 out of 10 in a matchup of him versus another coordinator, and especially one that he knows and that might know him well. Actually,
2019 though, it looked like Quinn got the better of Kyle.
He did. That's right. No, that's true. And Quinn's got a better team now than he did with those Falcons.
Right.
But I will say this about Quinn and all those coaches, and Robert Saleh included, and Quinn and all those coaches that came from the Seattle scheme originally, and it was very heavy cover 3 stuff. They're not running that much cover 3 anymore. So, and even less so than what Quinn was running with Atlanta. So, and Kyle's got a new team and running a lot of different stuff, and they know exactly what the other team is running because they watch the tape and they know what's going on. So it's not going to be a surprise anyway, but it's not the same defense that Quinn is running right now that it was when Kyle was in Atlanta with him.
Greg Cosell, he dropped some gems over on KBR, and he talked about how the Cowboys run more man coverage than anyone else in the NFL. They run a higher percentage of man coverage. And the reason why he got that was because they asked the question of, well, why have they given up so many yards after catch? And it's because of the man coverage. So guys are running away from them and having big run after catch opportunities, as opposed to zones and guys running and then, okay, he catches the ball, but then he gets tackled. So obviously that's something that plays to the benefit of the 49ers, who, hey, we want you. If you're going to play man, we have guys that don't need a whole lot of separation, but once they catch it, they can do a whole lot after the catch. So the Cowboys secondary is going to definitely have to tackle well, which it sounds like from what I hear, they do tackle well, but those yards after catch numbers don't really back that up.
Right. And that plays into what Kyle Shanahan can do to a defense, and move one guy here. Then you got man. Now this is open for Debo, catch, slant, boom, taking it to the house, making big plays in the passing game. So how do you attack that then, Croc? If you're an offense? Like, where's the weakness in that cover? Because it's still a single high safety, and they're still going to run some cover 3, but a lot of cover 1 man for the Dallas Cowboys. So where's the weak spot in a cover 1 man scheme? You've only got one guy up top. Do they trust their corners to play and say, we dare you to throw on us? Because someone like Trayvon Diggs, who leads the league in interceptions, I think he also leads the league in touchdowns given up, right? So he's a big play guy. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to try him much over the top, but if he's jumping stuff, maybe you have an opportunity to gain some advantage there. I don't know. That's an interesting one on the outside.
I think Trell said it best, crossing routes. Have those deep crossing routes, over routes, things like that, where you just give your guy Deebo Samuel a chance to run away from defenders, and Ayuk as well. One thing the Cowboys do have, they have some guys that have some, legit athleticism in the secondary as well. Anthony Brown, he's someone who can be beaten, but I don't know if the 49ers beat DBs the way that he gets beat, which is a lot of times like vertically pushing routes and things like that. So it's going to have to be on like a crossing route, but he is someone who has speed. Can the 49ers receivers run away from him? That's going to be another question.
You got to hit him with the double move, the sluggo.
Yeah.
Because that puts you, away from that middle field safety in that case.
Kendrick Bourne got away from Diggs on. It was a double move. It wasn't a crossing route. It was a double move, and it was kind of like a slant and go, but almost like a post. It was almost like he was running a post and go. So
it was like make it look like you're going to sit over the middle and then take it up the field.
Yeah, he took it up. Yeah. See Kelvin Joseph starting. Now that's Kelvin Joseph is a rookie, and obviously a cornerback out of Kentucky, previously at LSU. I evaluated him a lot. I thought Kelvin Joseph, his biggest issue was his eye discipline was really bad. I thought he had good athleticism, feet, movement skills, and things like that. But his bad eye discipline, I thought, made him give up some plays that he probably had no business giving up if he just played a little bit more honest. And if he's continuing to do that at the NFL level, which I think he just started really getting in there late in the year, that's something that potentially the 49ers could look to take advantage of.
Will Blackman on Twitter is asking Croc if you're going to bite that Five Guys or not.
If I'm going to what?
If you're going to take a bite of that Five Guys.
Eventually. Got it right here.
You know what? I feel bad now, Croc. We gotta let things go for you here. Last one, 48 sacks. 2019, I saw this stat earlier in the week from, I believe it was David Lombardi. 49ers ended up with 48 sacks this year, same number as 2019. Obviously, one more game in 2021 than there was in 2019. I don't think I think the 2019 defense was clearly better than what this defense is right now, but I do think there are some ways where this team is getting better. And I talked about how the secondary could be in one of the best spots it's been in all season long. I think the secondary pass rushers after Nick Bosa have really been putting in work recently, including blitzing Fred Warner. But I think the offense is better. I think it's better than the 2019 offense. So does that make up for it? Is this as good of a team as 2019, Croc? Could it even be a better team going into January than the 2019 unit was?
I would like to see the pressure numbers from 2019 compared to this year, because it seemed like, they were holding opposing quarterbacks to like under 100 yards, and they did that in several games. Like, that was unreal. Now one of them was like a monsoon out there in Washington, but Goff, Baker Mayfield, there were several quarterbacks where they just tormented them. I don't know if it was just always, we're just getting to you, but just the pressure. It's making quarterbacks throw before they wanted to. I think they did that at a very high rate.
Yeah, I would definitely take that 2019 unit over this unit defensively, but I think they're pretty good. I think they're hitting their stride. It's going to be fun Sunday, Croc. I want to let you get to that Five Guys you got over there. Is there anything you want to tell the folks before we go? And I want to see in the chat, how hyped are you right now? What's the final score going to be? Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it from the 49ers faithful, the Niner Empire. Croc, any parting words?
I think I got to pick the 49ers to lose. I picked them to win on the crossover show, and I was like, I think that was a mistake. I'm going to pick the 49ers to lose, and hopefully that reverse psychology works like it did last week, and the 49ers win. But I'm just excited. If you are going to be out there in Dallas, holla at me. I'll be in Dallas Saturday morning. Yeah, I'll be in Dallas. Yeah, Saturday morning. If I can get out of here. It's snowing right now. It's snowing out here. You got snow piled up out here. And then I believe it's tomorrow. Saturday is supposed to be like -4 degrees. So not ideal for trying to get out. Hopefully I won't get like snowed into Minnesota and can't go to the game.
That is chilly. I'm going to the snow as well. I'm flying in the morning to Park City, Utah, going to go skiing. And I'm actually going to be on the mountain while this game is happening. I don't know what the timing is going to be with our post-game show, Croc. I'm flying back Sunday night. I'm going to slide right off the mountain into the plane and back home Sunday night. Probably watch the game in the plane. So I can't be on Twitter all day because I don't want any spoilers because I want to watch it on the plane. I don't know if that's even going to work out. And then I don't know if it'll be too late when I get home to be able to do the podcast. We're going to have to put our post-game podcast out on Monday, but we will have a post-game pod. It's either going to be up Monday or it's going to be up late Sunday night. Croc, it sounds like, is going to deal with some snow. I'm going to deal with some snow. Have fun in Dallas, Croc.
I will.
Oh man, it's going to be so much fun. What am I tripping about? Come on, Chris. I'm going to go outside for the first time in like a year now.
You got to watch the game. I know you do. I mean, it's
going to be hard. Oh, it's going to be hard.
Watch it from your phone.
I mean, I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to die on the mountain and look at the game on my phone and run into a tree on my skis or something. And it's like, I don't know. It's going to, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't think I can stay away from it either. So it's going to be a crazy 48 hours right now. That's for sure. I'm going to have a whole lot of fun no matter what happens. I know there's going to be a sea of red in Dallas. If you see Croc, say hi, get a photo, send us that photo on Twitter at BD Peacock, at Eric_Crocker. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Go Niners, playoff football, beat those Cowboys. Be back post game right here. Locked On 49ers.